Hello, Katie.
Hello, Ryan. Let's
How are
hear
you
it.
today?
I'm good. Ready.
I'm going to tell my first transplant story. Um, First one took place in February of 2013. Um, Backtrack a little bit. I was in my senior year of college. Um, well, third year, senior year of college. And
You made it.
so I was working. All right. I got to figure out where I want to start this because I've been over this 100 times. Um, so I was in school in Fort Myers, Florida Gulf Coast University. Go Eagles. Um, we let's see, it was like March, maybe earlier than that, March of 2012, and I was working at Pelican Sound, which was a golf course down there. Um, and I became friends with everybody,
Of
but my
course.
friend
As you
Tracy,
do.
yeah. So my friend Tracy, who's still there, love that woman. She said to me one day, she's like, "Pick, are you okay?" And I was like, no, actually, like I finally felt out of breath, like
Wow.
super winded. Yeah, and this was, I mean, like I said, this is all less than a year. This whole thing's transpired.
Wow.
So I'm working in the pro shop, and I had to go to the bathroom, and the bathroom is literally located. So you walk around a counter, walk out this double doors, take a right, and it's like maybe like 50 feet there and back.
Right.
And I got back from the bathroom and standing behind the counter, and lips were blue. I was like really struggling to breathe. And it was
Wow.
at that
That's so
point that I was,
scary.
yeah. And it was so like, it wasn't until she brought it to my attention where I was like, yeah, you know what? I am struggling to breathe. And
Yeah.
so I had no, I didn't have anybody as far as doctors down in Florida when I got there. I was very ill prepared. I'd been stable for so long that I just didn't think, I don't know. I just didn't think my disease was going to progress like that,
Yeah.
because we were so stable for so long. And turns out that's about the time where it took. The decline was so drastic because I hadn't been going um, regularly to see my pulmonologist or getting all my lung breathing tests out of the way to figure out where I was at. So, anyways, I know I'm kind of rambling here. At the time, I have a roommate whose mom is a nurse, and she happened to reach out to me and say, "Hey, I have a friend who's at, USF. He's a good guy. I maybe you should go see him." So I made an appointment, went up there. They did the full workup, everything, and I had to go back. I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, to get all the test results. And at the time, I figured they would be like, okay, every time I go somewhere new, they want to do an open lung biopsy, you know,
Right.
just to see what we got. So I'm thinking, all right, we're going to do a lung biopsy here. They're going to want to start from scratch because they don't know me from anywhere. So I go up there, and I remember my friends, Chrissy and Danon, also great people. Chrissy's has cystic fibrosis, so we kind of
Interesting.
bonded over lung problems. But anyways, they were awesome. They actually drove me up to Tampa for my appointments. Well, my appointments going up for my testing. The follow-up appointments I drove by myself.
Okay.
And I don't, I mean, I've never gone to the doctors by myself. I know that seems kind of stupid, but
No,
when
it
I left
doesn't.
home, when I left home, I just didn't go, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, so I get there, and they call me back there, and they put me in this like long conference room, like long
Yeah.
table, super weird, not an exam room. So
Okay.
I'm in there, and they're like, Doctor comes down, sits down, puts my file on the it was really weird.
This
Anyways, he
is
goes,
not what
"How
I'm
would you like
used
to be
to.
able to?" Yeah. He's like, "How would you like to play basketball someday?" And I'm like, yeah. Like, how would you like to run around and not?" And I was like, "Yeah, sounds great. What are we doing? Got some breakthrough drug?" Nope. He's like, "You need a lung transplant." Oh shit. It got real
I probably
fast.
should have brought
And
someone with me for this.
yeah, I was like, "Oh man, it's a little heavier than I had planned on." So, mind you, I drove up from Fort Myers, so what's that? Maybe a couple hours, hour and a half. So, yeah, I had a long ride home to think about what was transpiring. It wasn't
Oh,
totally out of left field because, like I said, they told me at 9 years old, "Put you on a transplant list." We're like, "Nah, not yet."
not
So,
yet.
anyways, 23, shit has now hit the fan. We are going downhill. And I said to the doctors in Tampa, I said, "Can I at least finish out school?" No. Okay, cool. So I had to
Wow.
drop out of college. Um, I moved to Jacksonville. Well, let's pause for a second because when I got my results back, it was I had pulmonary hypertension. So I thought I was gonna have to move to Miami
Okay.
for the heart lung combo, which was another terrifying thought in itself.
Yeah.
And but then later on, through a heart cath and all that, it was ruled that, you know, I I guess I don't need a heart. My heart is good. So that was
That's good.
awesome. So then it opened up more options for
Okay.
transplant center. That's when I decided, hey, listen, moved when I originally moved to Florida, I went to Jacksonville. That's where my dad had relocated
Okay.
for work. I left New York and went to Florida, and that's kind of where I was for a couple years before going
Okay.
down to Fort Myers for school. Um, so, anyways, once I found out the heart thing is not on the table, I'm like, okay, now Mayo Clinic becomes an opportunity, and
Yeah.
so I remember I moved in with my sister Ashley. My brother-in-law took me in, let me stay
Okay.
with them, well, obviously until somebody came down to help me, which was then my mom. So for, I don't know, 2, 3 months, I lived with my sister. And I remember I did a lot of laying in bed, a lot of just I binge
Yep.
watched shows for hours.
Yep.
It wasn't fun by any means, but anyways, I got involved in cardiopulmonary rehab, obviously same as you. Um, we met there, and yeah, it was something I did look forward to. There were definitely days I woke up and I was like, "Nah, I ain't doing this today. Just not doing it." And I didn't. I just didn't go. And I know, like,
You mean you
yeah,
didn't make the call of shame to tell them you weren't coming? You just
no,
didn't show up?
I might have called. I called at least once or twice. I don't know.
I'm just kidding
They'd have
about the
to,
call of shame.
yeah, no. Well, it's like a no call, no show. I don't like to do that. But anyways, I decided I just wouldn't go on the days that I wasn't feeling it. So whatever. But it was something that I did look forward to. I knew the purpose behind it. I knew why we
Yeah.
were doing it. We had fun there,
You did
laughing
have fun.
about dark end of life humor. What are you
Yes.
gonna do? You
It was
know?
great.
So
Fun.
it was. But and that to me was my support group. Like
Yes.
I only went to support group, lung transplant support group once or twice. And
Same.
it just determined the people that were there were great. But they were at
Mhm.
different stages in their life. They had a lot of nobody was sick from birth,
Yeah.
essentially, like I was. So I didn't really relate to anything. And plus I was pre-transplant. I'd been doing this lung thing my
Her
whole
whole
life.
life.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I got more out of walking on the treadmill and lifting weights and, talking with you and all the ladies at rehab and, we just had it was just a good vibes.
There
It
were a lot
was
of great conversations that happened in there.
yeah. Yeah, we went on a Barry Manilow thing one time
Forgot about
and
that.
oh yeah, we always had music. They would ask us what we wanted to watch on TV. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm just trying to keep this number above 90.
Yep.
So, anyways, fast forward. I'm not gonna bore you with all the waiting stuff, but testing was brutal. I had 2 straight weeks of days of
So hard.
multiple tests throughout the day. It's exhausting. Um, all worth it in the end, but let's fast forward to February 16th, 2013, and my phone rings. Now I've been on the list now for about 4.5 months, and my phone rings at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now this is I'll be honest, this is towards the end. This is like I actually the night prior I walked out into the room and I was living with my mom at the time. And I said to her, I was like, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm not, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Like, we're running out of time. I mean, I was so winded from like rolling over in bed to get my remote to turn the
Yeah.
channel. I mean, it was it got scary, even for
Yeah, it
somebody who
does.
couldn't breathe their whole life. It's just like, whoa, like this is going a little too fast. And
Yeah.
you still don't have any, I didn't have any dry runs, thank
Mm,
God, but I hadn't even gotten a call saying, "Hey, we might have something for you." It was
yeah.
just nothing. So
Yeah.
anyways, my phone rings at like 2 in the morning. It's my previous one of my previous roommates in college. His name's Mark, and he calls me at 2:30 in the morning, and I didn't answer because I'm like, dude, can't do this. They're still in Fort Myers. This is probably a 2 a.m. bar call. Like, hey, let's call Ryan and see what you know what I mean. So I'm just like, I got time for this. So he leaves me a voicemail, and I'm just all right. Now I'm intrigued. I listen to the voicemail, and he's like, "Hey, buddy," he's like, "Give me a call back as soon as you get this." Um, and I can't remember if it was on the voicemail. But anyways, his voice was he was totally sober. But anyways, he was sober, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna call him back. So I call him back, and he says to me, he goes, "Hey, man, um, some sad news, but also, his girlfriend at the time, Lori, she they were at the hospital because her brother-in-law, Lori's brother-in-law, Dustin, who's Charlene's husband, not to get this all confused, but anyways, Mark and Lori are dating at the time. And they're telling Charlene about me waiting for lungs in Jacksonville. Now let's keep in mind Dustin, my donor, my first donor, was not an organ donor. He was not
Right.
registered for organ donation. He tragically passed. Um, yeah, it was actually on Valentine's Day of 2013 is when he had his brain aneurysm, and it wasn't,
Yes.
it wasn't until I found out on the 16th. And you know, looking back, it was weird because you know I'm I'm on social media, obviously, and I'm friends
Right.
with, these people, and, they're grieving on one end, and we're like, holy shit, I'm going to get a second chance.
Yeah.
And it's just really weird because it's like, I didn't know Charlene at the time. Like, I only knew Lori and Mark. I didn't know anything about anybody's families.
Right.
But the fact that the only reason I'm here is because these two people had a hard conversation with
Yeah.
their sister, and Charlene, for some reason, decided, you know what? I'll decide we're going to try this. And I remember he asked me on the phone, he's like, dude, if you just give me your social security number, they can look everything up and see if, you're a match and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hmm, like, he made it sound like they're packaging them up and going to send them to me. And I'm like, dude,
I'm sure that
that's
was a
not
little
how,
strange.
yeah, like, I appreciate it, no doubt,
Yeah.
but this isn't how this works. Like,
Right.
you can't just gift. At least at the time I thought that, but you can.
Yeah.
So not only did they do that, find that in their heart to do that, but he was a perfect match, like perfect. He was the same
Wow.
height, his lungs, there was no trimming that needed to be done. For those of you listening, sometimes lungs will come available and they may be a little bit too long for your chest cavity, and they can actually like trim them. There is risks with that, air
Yeah.
leaks and all that, but I'm not gonna get into that because it doesn't pertain to me. Um, so yeah, so, here I am, now this is the this is the weirdest part. So after all this, I hang up the phone. I'm like, "Phew, I'm not I haven't lost all hope, but I'm like, this probably ain't gonna work out."
Yeah.
So, anyways, I go back to sleep, and about 8 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings, and it's Mayo Clinic, and it was
That's
like a
wild.
I don't even know. I'm not gonna say. And it was Dr. Erasmus, and he was like, "Ryan," and I was like, "What time do I?" He didn't even tell me. I'm like, "What time do I need to be there?" And he was like,
Wow.
"Oh, you already know." And I'm like, "Yeah, my friend called me last night, and like
I know
I
about
know
this.
what's going on. Yeah, I know what's going on."
Wow.
So I get in there, and I'm trying to like tell everybody that I'm running into along the way, because when you get there, it's not just, you go through the ER, you get all they start doing blood work right away, they start doing
Yep.
chest x-rays, they start moving right away. And then
Yep.
a few hours may go by and you'll move up to your room, and, you know, and your room is in the surgical ICU, which is also
Ugh.
kind of trippy. So you're walking, well, I took a wheelchair, but you're going up to the surgical ICU, and
Before.
there are people, the whole floor is on life support. And
Yep.
I'm like, they don't tell you. I guess maybe they did, but at the time, it's just like, oh my god, like that. You're walking past rooms, people are on ventilators, people are on ECMO. It's just like, oh, this
Yeah.
okay. And and they tell you like you're gonna start in here, and this is the room you're gonna come back to, and blah blah blah, and all that stuff. And I was there all day long, and
Oh, wow.
it wasn't until about 8, 9 o'clock where we started having communication between um, the procurement team and the doctors here at Mayo. And I'm getting text messages. I'm still texting Mark back and forth, and
Right.
he's like updating me on what's happening. So now I become the center of information. So the doctor, my surgeon's coming in, my anesthesiologist is coming in, everybody's coming in, and they're like, what's the update? And it's
That
just,
you may be the only
it's
patient ever that's communication HQ.
It's anyways. So here I am this whole time, and then I find out like, hey, we're a go. And because
Wow.
of the situation, I remember going through my testing, and I was only approved for one lung.
Right.
I
I remember
wasn't
that.
approved for two because of my chest. So, anyways, because we had this information about what was going on with my lungs and where they were coming from and what time and everything, and you know, I'm getting updates like, "Hey, the helicopter actually just landed," and I'm like,
That's wild.
you know, if you know me, I'm like, "Hey, Chopper's here." Like,
Yeah.
I'm like so beside myself because I'm telling you, I was close to death. So, at the point now where okay, we're a go, we're gonna give this a whirl. I start like deflecting with all my stupid humor and making jokes about, well, if I come out of this, here's my breakfast order, and
Yeah.
my mom, they're laughing, but they're not like, everybody's scared shitless. So
Yeah.
I finally, Dr. Odell comes in, and he's like,
Love
"Hey,
that, man.
oh yeah." He goes, "Hey, since we got a little time, I'm going to take you back early, and I'm going to correct your chest before everything goes on." And I'm like, okay, like you're gonna have to cut
Let's
it
do
open
it.
anyways. So like, let's have some cosmetic plastic surgery on top of the lung transplant. So, anyways, yeah, I went back. He wheeled me back there, and then I was probably I had a rough go after surgery. Surgery
Oh,
went great.
you had two
Um,
surgeries in one. I can only imagine.
yeah, so I was dealing with a lot of chest pain,
Yeah.
but yeah, so here I am coming out of it, and I was I I couldn't keep my lung inflated, my right lung. So I was on nitrous. I was on the ventilator for I want to say almost 2 weeks. and so
Wow.
and I was trached, so I couldn't talk to anybody. But,
I'm
you know,
sure that
you're
was
on a bunch of
frustrating for you.
medications. Oh my god. Me not be able to talk? Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Whew, put me in a nut house. Um, so yeah, so, you know, you can't communicate like, "Hey, this hurts," or, "Hey, I'm uncomfortable," or, you know,
Uh-huh.
they give you a whiteboard to write on, and I'm so hopped up on morphine and Dilaudid, and we'll get into, like, some of those stories, but
Every
I don't have contacts in because the meds dry your eyes out. And I'm like, yo, I'm not happy. I am quite
I'm sure
miserable.
not.
And yeah, I mean, I remember I'd get so mad when people like tried to figure out what I wanted. You know,
And get it wrong.
just yeah, like, well, it's not even that. I couldn't write anything because I'm like so medicated. Like my everything just wasn't working. Because we're now 2 weeks
Yeah.
into this. I've been laying in a bed. So I am like,
Yeah.
I lost all muscles in my legs. Like it took me a long time to recover.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you start feeling better and now we're up and walking, chest tubes come out. You know, we're like 3, almost 4 weeks into a hospital stay, still on ICU. And then finally I get moved downstairs to just the, you know, I forget what they call it, PACU. And is that what it's called?
I don't really
I was there for a couple days and then I was discharged, but man, I went into AFib, um, had to get shocked. I had a blood clot in my central line, so they had to like take that out and move it, which then
Oh,
led to blood thinners for like 6 months after
yeah.
transplant because of the blood clot. And I was just like what is going on? I just at that point I would just I don't even remember the earliest memory I have of coming out of surgery was when they gave me the pain button and my stepdad was, I think, leaving at the time, and he's like, "Hey, I'll see you later," and I just remember hitting that button and being
Okay.
I just yeah, and, but it was I don't remember a lot because I was so it was so rough that I had to, you know, they put me on I wasn't sleeping, so they put me on a, propofol drip,
Mm.
which it's like coma, you know?
Yeah. It doesn't feel
So,
like restful sleep.
honestly, it's I see, I do. I feel it I don't know. When I have a bronch, no, but, like,
Yeah.
when you're on a drip,
Oh, well,
whew,
I mean,
you're
a
like
drip is
in
different, but
yeah, you're running around with Bugs Bunny for, like, however long you're on that drip. It's a great it's a great thing. I love propofol. But,
don't say
yeah,
that
so I was
too
on a drip to
loudly.
give my body I had to give my body time to rest, and that was the only
Right.
way it was gonna
Good to
rest.
heal.
Yeah, because again, I'm not sleeping because I can't communicate. So I'm
Right.
freaking out because I can't tell anybody, "Hey, this sucks," you know? And, yeah, I just remember getting home from the hospital after all that, and, then I then I started to struggle with guilt because now,
Mhm.
you know, I'm Facebook friends now with Charlene, I'm Facebook friends with Dustin's mom, I'm Facebook you know, I'm literally watching everybody, like, grieve, which
Mhm.
everybody grieves differently,
They
and then I'm
do.
over here, like, celebrating a new life, and you know, it was heavy. It was really heavy, and
Yeah.
I remember at one point I talked with Charlene about this, and I don't know why, but, like, I feel bad, you know, the way it all, like, worked
Yeah.
out. She was just like, "You no, like, you can't feel bad, you know? We didn't do this, you know, for any other reason than for what has transpired." And
Mhm.
it's just it was yeah, it was just such a crazy story. There's so many little details, you know, that go
Yeah.
into it. You know, and that some of the things about transplant that people don't know is um like when you get transplanted, you know, DNA comes with those lungs, comes with
Mhm.
those organs.
It does.
Um and it can alter your DNA a little bit. And it does because I for 23 years had no interest in eating a pickle. No way was I ever going to eat a pickle. I wouldn't even eat a pickle on on a cheeseburger from McDonald's. Like, no way. And then, I kid you not, all of a sudden, I mean, to this day, I love pickles. Like, it's the weirdest thing. And I
That's
remember
funny.
asking Charlene about it, and I was like, "Did Dustin like pickles?" And she was like, "Yeah, he did."
I'm like, well, now I do.
Yeah, similar tastes in music. Like
Same.
his favorite group was Wu-Tang Clan, which is pretty funny because it is. Um, and I had listened to Wu-Tang before, but it was just like, wow, like you listen to these stories and you're like, damn, like I'm living because of him, but like I wish I could have met him because I
Yeah,
could see us being friends because we
that's
just had so
cool.
many same interests.
Yeah,
They had 2 little girls at the time who were 2 and 3, and so, I felt guilty because here's 2 little girls that did nothing to deserve to grow up without their father,
yeah,
but, it takes a long time for you to see it from the other side, like, "Hey, you know what? Those girls, their father, I mean, he's a hero. He saved
yeah,
so many people's life." I mean,
absolutely.
I got one of the lungs, so, I mean, he saved, I wanna say, like, forget how many, but he just would have been so cool to meet. But
Yeah,
I was immediately close with Shar. We kind of talked to each other about what was bothering us, and not bothering like us, like super personal, but just she would assure me that you don't need to thank me, and I'm over here
yeah,
like every time I'm talking to her, I'm like, thank you so much. Like you
yeah.
didn't have to, you could have just honored his wishes and not done anything. So let's fast forward to 6 months. 6 months post transplant, and now Emily and I are engaged. Um, and who do we want at our wedding? Obviously, we want Shar and the girls at our wedding.
Obviously.
Um, and she came, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. We did a dance together. The girls all danced with all of my
That's so
family and
sweet.
friends, and yeah, we have so many pictures from our wedding of them. And it was just, for her to make that, because we got married on the ocean in Cape Cod,
Mhm.
and they're in Tampa area, and for her to pack up her and the girls, make the trip,
Yeah,
by herself, and it just showed like she truly wanted to be there, and
yeah,
we truly wanted her there, and it was just super special, and it was at that moment that I was like, all right, you know what, like we're gonna embrace this. Like there is no there's no hard feelings, or
of course not.
I never felt like, hey, feel any pressure to live my life a certain way
Yeah,
because of knowing about Dustin, and hearing stories and things like that. I mean, I feel like we were similar dads. I mean, him and
yeah,
Char, they took the girls to Disney all the time, and I'm sure you remember when we had Charlie and Riley, like, we
yeah,
lived at Disney for until
yeah,
they were 3, and then I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not paying for an adult ticket for
No,
you. You're Once you have to pay 'em, you're done." So,
yeah,
yeah, we did that for, like, 3 years, and we had a lot of we went to Disney with Charlene and the girls. We just had a lot of, like, special moments. She instantly became family. She came up, I think it was Easter after, it might have been the Easter after we were married, but they came up and painted eggs, and the girls just, I don't know, it just felt so, like it felt like I had known them forever, you know? It was
yeah,
just so it just felt so perfect, and I did really well after I got out of the hospital. I did really well.
yeah,
I didn't have any any hiccups. I didn't have any rejection. I didn't have everything was pretty smooth sailing. And then 7.5 years is what I got before, things went back downhill. And um that's another story. It was just, the whole thing was just wild. You go back to when you were talking about the traveling and how people were in the spots where they were, and
yeah.
it's never by coincidence.
No, it's never a
So,
coincidence.
like, I get my call, and my stepdad is on his way to Florida. He stayed in New York to teach. So he's on his way down for winter break, and just to visit. And I remember joking, like, you know, when we got the call, he was 8 hours into the trip south. He was gonna be here to be a part of it, and he had my grandmother with him, and I just remember, like, my dad lives in Pensacola, so that's 5 hours. So, obviously I call him and tell him, and, he's in the car. He makes it over in 4 hours flat, so
I guess
appreciate you,
we're
FHP, for
I was gonna
not being
say,
on I-10.
right. Might be the
Anyways,
only
I don't know
time.
if we joke about it all the time. He's like, "I don't know what I would have told him, but I don't even know if I would have stopped."
He might have gotten
I'm
there in
like,
3.5 if he'd run into him
yeah, he might I
in
was
an
like, "Oh,
escort.
imagine a police escort." Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, maybe if I was in the car and we were trying to get there, but I wasn't. So, like, literally my entire family is now in my room, and I mean, there's like 13 people in there. We had
Yeah.
some friends that were, super close friends that wanted to be there, and I was just like, I'll take it all. Like,
Yeah.
let's have a party in the
That's awesome.
SICU. So
Yeah.
we kind of did, and we sat around, and I got to say goodbye, not goodbye, but see you later after
Yes.
surgery,
We don't
to
say goodbye.
everybody in my family. And it was wild how it worked out that way. It's just like, back to what I said, like, when it happens,
Everything
everything
lines up.
just falls into place. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, like I said, she came to our wedding, and I mean, she's just been, to this day, she's a big part of our life. I
That's
think
awesome.
about her all the time. Um, but yeah, it's been a journey. The second one to this day, I don't really know anything about
Yeah.
my second donor.
Same.
But the the craziness of it is that chest surgery I had in the first one allowed me to have 2 lungs the second time, just like
Yeah.
Dr. Odell said to me the day he said, "We're gonna go fix it just in case you need another one, that
He's the
you would be able
best.
to get both." And so it gets a little wilder. So I, once again, only get approved for 1 lung. They're gonna
Wow.
leave the right one that has now got rejection. Now we're gonna only
Replace
transplant
the left.
the left one. Well, so I'm thinking to myself, well, can the rejection spread? I don't know how this stuff works. So
Right?
anyways, so here's another plot twist. Day of surgery, Dr. Rasmus comes in. He's like, "Hey, nobody's claiming the other lung. Do you want both?" I'm like,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "All right, just sign this paper and away we'll go."
Wow.
And I was home in 8 days. It would have been 5, but they don't discharge you on Saturdays, so I waited
Yeah.
till the following Tuesday. But I went home. I was up walking and eating the day I got out of the OR. I remember them pulling the breathing tube and wheeling me down to, do the stomach scan to figure out if
Yeah.
you're having if you're good to go. And I passed that, and I remember eating dinner that night. It was just wild. And I remember watching, I think, 5 more people that day because of COVID were transplanted. I mean, there was so
Wow.
many people that were transplanted during that early breakout of COVID
Yeah.
because everybody shut down and Mayo stayed open, and they
Yeah.
just got all the organs, and it's just wild how it all works out. It's the
Well,
behind the scenes stuff, that so
yeah.
many moving parts that we don't even know about.
And to have 2
My
wildly different
lungs,
experiences.
yeah, and my second set had to go. I think they were in ex vivo. Like,
Okay.
uh, yeah, so they were tested. I contracted Hep C and MRSA from my donor, which, back in 2013, if that was the option, those aren't even suitable
They
for
were
transplant.
transplantable then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were.
Dang.
Here we are, only 7.5 years later, and I'm
Isn't that
signing
wild?
another paper that says, "Hey, we can treat this stuff now, so take them if you get them." And I
Yeah.
knew before I accepted these lungs, they called me and they told me, "Hey, this is a high risk." And I remember telling the doctor, I was just like, "What would you do?" And he's like, "You can't ask me that." Well, here's the deal. You've This is where you are now. This is the first opportunity we have. I'm telling you, we can treat these things. Who knows when the next call may come?" And I was like,
Right.
"Alright, cool. I'm not doing this again." So, I took them, and yeah, I 12 weeks on Mavorite, it was gone, undetectable,
That's
cured,
amazing.
and the MRSA was gone because of they obviously, it's all curable now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and here I
That's
am
awesome.
12 and a half years later from day 1.
Yeah. So
But
that's I knew most of your first story. I had almost no idea of anything that happened the second
I
time
know,
around.
because once you were transplanted, the last place you wanted to hang out was at Mayo.
Still the
And
last place I want to
probably
hang out.
yeah,
No offense, Mayo.
exactly.
Love you, mean it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I do too, but I only wanna be there when I need to be.
exactly.
But,
Only when you need to be there
yeah,
once.
the second one, I don't have too many details. It was pretty, quote, unquote, "easy."
Yeah,
And I haven't had any hiccups, knock on wood. Um,
yeah,
Everything's been great, and, everything's been good with you too. You're still on your first set, which is
yes.
very cool, and, but yeah, I actually am going to hop off because it's school time.
Go get
Let's
those
go get
children.
gotta get those kids, but thanks for, thanks for letting me tell my story. I know it
Yeah,
was
it was
kinda
fun to
short and
hear it.
sweet, but there's, there's more to it. I know Shar wants to tell kinda her side, which is
I would love to hear that.
yeah, just from that, like, making that call and, what made her do that and why, she didn't know me from Adam,
Yeah.
but, blessed to say everything worked out, and, I mean, there was so many hands in that from Mark to Lori to Shar, like, the whole family was like, "Let's just do this."
It'll be fun to
And
hear their side of the story.
yeah, yeah, it will be.